Oh, hey,
What's going on? What's going on?
can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you? Can you hear me?
Yep. All right, good. Because I didn't know, given that I am, oh, my Grandy is in here. Hey, Grandy. I am live from Vegas. For those who do not know, I'm actually here with my best friend, Dawn, but she is out with another friend having dinner right now. And she was supposed to be with me in Miami this week, but then there was a potential storm. So she decided to cancel her Miami trip, then beg me to come to Vegas with her. And of course, I said yes because how could I not? If anyone knows my and Dawn's friendship, she's my best friend. And pretty much when she wants me to be there, usually I just say yes. So I'm here with Dawn. And the one thing that I want to say is, I love Vegas for the most part, but the one thing I do not love about Vegas is there is so much fragrance and smoking that for me, like I had to take a nap before this because I felt so sick. So hopefully I don't look sick or like at least my face doesn't look crazy. Because sometimes you feel like you have, at least I feel like I have fragrance and smoking on my skin. It's a very weird feeling. I don't know if anyone else has ever had that from coming to Vegas. I know, Matt, you haven't been to Vegas yet, but you will be here with me one day. Uh,
I can't wait. I never been more west than Louisiana,
we're
so
gonna
I
make it happen.
yeah,
We're
got
making
to.
it happen somehow, some way next year, God willing. If not, but this week we are switching it up a little bit for those who might not have seen, and we are going to give a little bit of a glimpse into our love story, which is my favorite love story, besides maybe my grandparents. So, Grandy, shout out to you and Grandpa, because I think that you have 71 years, which is a lot more years than us. And they're also one of my favorite love stories. But anyway, we wanted to talk a little bit about how we kind of found love through social media and give some tips for others that might also be looking to find love that is currently single to hopefully give them some hope. I think that a lot of times people don't think about finding love on social media. They think about dating apps, but for me, I think that I had, and I can go into that in a little bit. I think that I kind of wanted to change my approach. And we just want to also acknowledge, or at least I want to acknowledge that we know that we're not like my grandparents, my grandy and grandpa, who've been together for 71 years. Like, we're not even married yet, at least. So we know we have a lot to learn, but we just felt like we still wanted to share because so many people ask us about our love story. And I feel as though that a lot of people are always like, wait, you met online, and so we
Mhm.
wanted to do an episode about that. And anything you want to add, Matt?
No, it's just gonna be cool because when people ask how I met you, and I always say Twitter or slash X, they're always like, "What? Like, how does that even happen?" Because it's so like such a rarity that you kind of find love on there since it's mostly a words oriented platform. It's not like Instagram or all these traditional dating apps where it's the
Pictures.
photos, but it's more words and thoughts.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, it's really cool.
Well, I will get into the first part of the story since it starts with me technically, which is essentially in 2020, while my sister, who's on this, was finding her future husband. I was pretty much the exact opposite. Just like many people, I was kind of reevaluating my life in 2020. And I was just saying to myself, I haven't had a lot of luck. And how can I change my approach? So, one of the things that I was thinking about is social media because I felt as though dating apps at the time, like I just didn't like dating apps that much. And again, I'm not saying that right away, all of a sudden, all of this changed, but that I stopped using dating apps because obviously I didn't. And Matt knows my story very well. But what happened was I started changing the way that I use social media. And actually, it's funny because I think a lot of people maybe didn't realize that. If you knew me before, I was really sharing a lot. Obviously, my sister and my granny probably know I was sharing probably way too much about myself on the internet and fighting injustice every little chance that there was. And I stopped kind of doing that as much and started really thinking about how am I presenting myself, not just for friends and family and people potentially in business, but also for a potential partner. And it's funny because I had really said like, oh, like I hope that I can meet like my dream guy on social media somehow. And then of course what happened was I was on Twitter, and in the summer of 2022, I decided to follow a lot of guys all across, like on Instagram, Twitter, that were that were identified as Christian, and also were in the fitness world or anything health and wellness. Like even if they owned a fitness or a health company of some sort or a healthy food brands, like I was just trying to. Honestly, it wasn't even about like, oh, I'm attracted to this guy. It was more so about, oh, well, maybe I can meet someone through them. And so I found that from a friend of a friend, and he had maybe like 50 to 100 followers. And obviously, I didn't know your part of the story that you can share. That it wasn't like he was some big person on Twitter yet. And I started following him. And we basically, for what is this, like over a year, just kind of played this game of liking each other's stuff, commenting on each other's stuff. But there wasn't either of us that was making a real move. And the honest truth from my end was I had said to God, if this guy's meant to be for with me, then please keep him until I leave Google, because many people know that I was really focused on leaving Google last year and I didn't want any distractions. So I really didn't date almost last year. If I dated, it was like I met someone very spontaneously, but I made a huge commitment and I told anyone who I had met, like, I'm not getting into a relationship in 2023. And so you can share your side a little bit that leads up to why we're kind of also celebrating 1 year today in some way.
Yeah. So pretty much, like as you said, because I joined Twitter back in 2022. Like this is my new Twitter account. I had an old Twitter account that I deleted. So I joined Twitter back in 2022. I got connected with Tyler Toad. He's a big fitness, big influencer. In the health, faith, and actually marriage space. So I got connected with him, and then I just kind of just been growing, a couple hundred followers a month, up to, and Mallory was one of them. I gave her a follow back because, I also kind of aligned with her values, and I just want to get connected with more people. And so pretty much, as you said, we played this game for, for about a year and a half, kind of liking each other's posts, commenting, interacting a little bit. But I was pretty much in a mindset, and that's the reason why I never really reached out until I did. I was really in a mindset of just, being content with singleness. I think I learned a lot, because my last relationship was in 2020. Spending, almost 4 years just being single and developing a relationship with God and developing a relationship with myself. And I told myself I was in a place where, if I met somebody, awesome. But if I didn't, that's okay too. My life is still going to be awesome. So I was just kind of content in that. So that's why I never really reached out, but just being able to, just to see her post and just to really interact. And I was like, okay, interesting. And so it kind of compelled me to, I don't know if you want to go into the, story of how I reached out.
Yeah.
You want me to that? Okay.
Well,
yeah, no, okay. I thought you weren't done with the intro.
Well, no, I'll say that. So then what happened was, actually, I'll give like another detail is I had told my best friend Dawn, who I'm here with, that I'm going to leave Google and then I'm going to take 2 months off. And then I'm going to really build out more than an admin. And then I'm going to publish my book. And then I was like, if it's not through social media, my future husband will read my book and then be so inspired to contact me through this. And, it's funny how the story is. But so I had dropped a podcast episode on leaving Google. And it's funny because I always tell people that when you drop something publicly, even this, right? There's only like 5 or 6 people in here, but you never know what can spark from one person. And so I dropped that podcast, and I want to say like across all platforms, like maybe I'm trying to think, like maybe 800 people have listened to it. And it's like on YouTube, I think it's a little bit around like 340. But of course, you were one of those people who listened to it. And then on November 18th, 2023, you can read your message that you sent to me.
But and just to get a little bit of backstory, it's like because I think this was a little bit before, or sorry, a little bit after I saw and listened to your podcast. I was really intrigued because first and foremost, like I kind of wanted to know what you sounded like. I was like, I was just like, what is this girl? What does this girl sound like? As I said, I really liked your profile. And then and then I also found out that the title was really good. I'm leaving Google, right? And so I was like, oh, interesting, because I never really met. I don't think I've really met or like known anybody who's in that tech space. Like for me, like tech is one big giant. Obviously it's a big giant corporation, but like not really, knowing somebody that actually worked in tech. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like this is awesome. I wonder what Google's like, because to me Google is just a search engine. I didn't know there's like thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon millions of employees behind it. So, but I reached out, after I read them, after I listened to that podcast, and this is my message here. I said, hey, I know we follow each other on Twitter, but I don't think we formally met. I tuned into your most recent episode of your podcast, and I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed / relate to the content that was on there. And then in parentheses, I said, I have a hard time separating the work that I do with the person that I am. And then I said, I encourage you to keep going and pursue the mission the Lord provided for you. Love what you're doing / excited to see your journey unfold. So,
And then I
but
read that and I called Dawn and was like, oh my gosh, my Twitter crush messaged me, but it's in 2023, so I'm not supposed to date and I don't know what to say. And then I waited 4 days and you thought I was ignoring you because I
yeah,
had seen the message and I was driving because it was right before Thanksgiving. And I remember just being like, oh my gosh, I have to message back, but I don't want to seem so desperate that I'm going to message back so quick. And then what am I going to say back? So then I messaged this back, and it's like so funny because then, like, looking back, I'm like, I feel as though my message could have been so much better, but whatever. It clearly worked. I say, hi, Matt. I can't believe you're messaging me because I love your Twitter content, and I'm sure I'll enjoy your Instagram too. Thank you so much for listening in and also messaging me because it means so much to me after a really intense work week that left me depleted. I believe God has a big purpose for me, and I'm going to continue to trust him, as I'm sure you are too. And then I was like, by the way, where are you based?
yeah.
Because your girl wanted to know where you were living.
No, honestly, I was very surprised. I was very surprised because I thought honestly, I didn't think you were going to send me a message. I thought you were going to, like, as I said before, responding 4 days later. So knowing me, I'm a little petty. I deleted the message. I was like, are you serious? Not even an acknowledgement, not even a like or anything like that. Like, I'm like, what? Like, I reached out, like, because the thing is, we were connected on Twitter. But you had your Instagram handle, I think, on your Twitter banner. So I was like, let me reach out to her. I'm sure she has plenty of like Twitter messages or something like that. So, I thought Instagram was going to be a little safer bet, for at least for a chance for you to read my message. And you saw it, and I was like, man, like, did I do something wrong? Like, I was just offering encouragement. But sorry. I just wanted to interject
Oh
a little
yeah,
bit
and
there.
it's funny because I didn't remember putting in that like this work week was hard, but for some of you that know, this was kind of right after that I announced, obviously, because I had that podcast about leaving Google. And if you listen to my podcast episode about resigning, there was I had went through this big thing with a coworker of mine that really did leave me very depleted. And so when he messaged me, I was just like, oh my gosh, like who would have thought that this would have been happening right now?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that the other thing that I want to say about how, because this is kind of important, is why I started following you also,
Mm.
that I think people can maybe take something away from is I felt as though, like you said, our values were aligned. And I
Yeah.
also think as someone in the fitness space, I didn't see you as someone that was like many of the other guys out there that was just like their shirt is off all the time and they're kind of boasting. And so I really liked that. I felt as though that anytime I saw your content, it was super positive. It wasn't like you were just complaining.
Yeah.
And I think that like I really meant this. Even, I mean, I probably have said this to you before. even if we did not work out romantically, I just knew I wanted to like be friends with you because I saw the people that you were connected with online. I kind of saw your friends and I was like, okay, this guy has, like I said, the same values. I always joke that like if Matt wasn't into me, I would have asked him, do you have any friends? Like, and because for me, like I said, it was just about that. I really liked what you were building. And I think a lot of women, something that we have to do when we find people on social media, like to follow in terms of the opposite sexes, finding someone whose mission in life is something that we want to be a part of. Like, again, whether it's romantic, but someone that's just doing something and like their purpose, which I'm sure we'll probably touch on in a little bit, but I think that that's something that especially guys can really do. I mean, and women is really emphasize like what is your purpose in life. Even if you have a job that's not like quote unquote like fancy, even if you work like a very regular 9 to 5, even if you work something, even if you're a garbage man, right? Or like whatever, as long as you are like proud and you have like a greater purpose behind it. And I think that some people have a hard time finding that, to be honest, but you have to work with a coach of some sort to figure that out. I think that putting that on the internet is really like could be really helpful in finding your person. So what are some tips from your end that you feel as though people can make their profiles more appealing to the opposite sex? I don't know if you want to go like broad for both genders or for like for guys or girls. You can decide to do what
kind of I'll start broad and then kind of go a little bit specific. I think first and foremost, you know, because guys and girls do this, I see a lot of complaining, like kind of like, you know, where people wearing their heart on their sleeves and kind of just voicing it out. I think it's a big turnoff for a lot of people, especially that you kind of like exude that negative energy, and people are not going to follow you for that. Yeah, it's just like as I said, it's just a bad you know, bad omen, right? So don't complain. You know, obviously there's a difference between, you know, kind of like venting your frustration about a particular issue versus just like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I'm depressed. Let me just like kind of just you know, blur it out on social media. You know, obviously go get help offline, but like don't like venture it out like, you know, online like begging for attention. Because I think that just does more harm than good. I think number two, I think just uh, for both men and women, just to create something of value. It is such a, you know, social media is such a place where you can make such a big difference in your life, like in terms of, you know, obviously financially, socially. You can impact in so many ways that, you know, pre social media, you know, could never do it before. So create something of value. Don't just be scrolling mindlessly, because first and foremost, like, you know, the algorithm will just keep feeding you content that you like, and then you end up staying on this thing for 2 3 hours and wasting time. But at least like in that time, you can be creating something of value. So whether it's a skill that you want to you know, promote, you know, a service, you know, for me, like obviously, you know, fitness and faith, you know, like my two bread and butters that I've grown up with for, you know, all my life, you know, being able to provide something you know, something of value, just to help encourage and to help, you know, help strengthen believers, and, you know, obviously just give hope to non-believers, and also just help in general with people's fitness. And so like just finding out what skill set that you have and voicing it, and creating something of value on social media can be, you know, all the more beneficial rather than just kind of just scrolling. And number three, this is my last one. You know, like Instagram especially, like just view kind of social media as like, you know, a dating profile, like essentially like what do you exude, like what kind of values do you want other people to see, right? So be very careful with the things that you post. You want to make sure that you're posting something that aligns truly you know, with your values. And so being able to, you know, obviously optimize your profile, just take it into consideration, take it very seriously, because I believe social media is the new creator economy. I think the more, you know, more obviously, you know, with AI, but the more time that we experience with social media, I think obviously with the network effect, more and more people are going to have access to it. And so you can reach such a vast audience. So being able to take it extremely seriously, because you want to put your best self on there. obviously, and you want to, as I said, kind of create something of value. So make sure that your profile is absolutely optimized to the best of your abilities, so that opportunities may come in the future.
Cool.
Yeah.
You said a lot there. You left me a lot of crumbs. You left me a lot of crumbs. There were a lot that were my points, but I'm gonna forgive you for that and have to figure out what I'm gonna say now. So, so I'm just gonna go about values first. I think that, or I should say, the first thing is don't complain. So, I think that there's a really fine line between this and putting your best foot forward, because for me, I still think that many people who follow me on my personal Instagram page could see, like yesterday, I ranted about healthcare and my views on that. I think that you can do these things. You just have to know, if you are always complaining, if you are always negative, then yeah, that's going to be a problem. If you are always someone that is known to have an issue with every little thing, then yeah, that person's going to think in your relationship that you're going to be someone who's nagging and complaining all of the time. I think the other thing is, for those that are like, I like to just have cat photos and send them and like post my cat photos or post whatever. That's totally fine. Like, I don't think either of us are saying you have to find obviously love on social media. I think that for us, that we are just trying to bring awareness to the fact that if you only post cat pictures or if you only post something, just know that like we all are human. And if you're going to go on a date with someone, guys maybe don't do this as much as women, but like everyone's going to search you at some point. And so if that's what you want to, for them to know, and I think a lot of times people forget, like you're talking about, that social media has become such a big thing. People just in general, I always say, like, if someone just happened to randomly go on my profile, are they going to want to have me in their life or not? And I think in the past, when I was younger, I lost a lot of opportunities. Clearly, they all led me to you, so I have no regrets. But I think when I was younger, I prevented myself from a lot of men approaching me because I posted way too much about negative things in my life and just like overshared too much. And I think that some guys probably thought like, this person is a mental health case. And you know many things that I went through in my life. And I think that I should have not shared all of it because it wasn't the right timing. I think that's the other thing that I tell people is, you can post about certain things that have happened to you that are negative, right? But it's sometimes waiting until time has passed to really find a non-emotional way to talk about it, which is something that I really struggled with when I was really younger. And even now, like I have to bite my tongue sometimes. Sometimes I really do want to just blast people on the internet. I want to blast certain things and I have to hold myself back because also like I represent you at the end of the day too. And so I think that the other thing is actually optimizing your profile for, like, again, as many people do in the business sense. This is like for all my career women out there that have like a dream client. You have to think about, like, again, who is your dream guy? Are they going to want to see you in such having like masculine energy? If you want a very traditional guy or you want a guy that is super masculine, they're not going to always want to see you in your masculine energy. Again, something that I had to switch. Something that I did in 2023 was I actually deleted all of my Instagram photos except 3. And then sometimes I would post, sometimes I would delete them. I deleted all of my posts before that year. I think I even did this in 2022 or 2021 as well. And I kept 3 photos. One was a baby photo because, in my opinion, all guys like to see their future wife as a baby because they think about their future daughter. Mm-hmm. 2, I posted me in a red dress because it was like a nice photo of me. And then the third one that I did was I posted my business card with more than an admin, which was kind of like my purpose. And for me, I wanted a guy to know that like I did have something going on, but I didn't want it to be something where it was like me in a super masculine kind of like video or something like that. And I had to work on this. Like, again, many people know I was a tomboy. I definitely am someone that is very outspoken in general, but I wanted my profile for someone to see those 3 photos. And then I did a lot of like cooking videos or like cooking posts. I did a lot of posting about family. I posted about certain things that I felt as though, again, I wanted my dream partner to see. I didn't post a lot about my career in 2023, about a step when I was leaving Google. Then I was just like, whatever. And I kind of had the mindset of like I wasn't dating anyway. So I definitely posted about leaving Google. I posted when I was on like road trips. But again, it wasn't in the way of like, I'm conquering this, like these tasks. I'm like, and I think that some women, this is something that I would say is, you have to really put your pride aside. And this is something that a lot of women do not want to do. Like, for example, I've told you this. In 2021, I posted 1 thought picture. Okay. I did do it, maybe one or two. And I saw the attention that I got from that. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is how women all the time normal, like, this is what happens. I mean, everyone was coming out of the woodwork. You look so amazing. And then I asked myself, I was like, is this really the attention that I actually want? Like, these people who are messaging me, like, especially these guys, like, they do not like me. They like, they're seeing me as like a piece of meat. They're not actually seeing me as like a wife to them. And I think a lot of women, they'll say this phrase of, oh, I'm posting for myself, I'm posting for my friends that are girls. It's like, no, you're not. One, most women are not. You're posting for attention, even if it's for other women. You also would not want your guy posting half naked photos all the time and then saying to you, yeah, I hope other guys see this, I want other guys to like it. No, you'd be like, what the heck, like, that is a weird thing to do. And if Matt did that all the time and it wasn't for something fitness related, I would be very uncomfortable. So I tell a lot of women, you have to be really, really careful. You have to give up being a thought, a hoe online. You just have to stop posting these naked photos, these half naked photos, you in your bikini. You even sometimes means not posting girls trips again, where you're all posting half naked or like doing things that are really dumb at the end of the day. And a lot of women don't want to have to do that. And that's fine. But just remember, that's what you're presenting. So if you're not doing well in your dating life or you're attracting all the wrong guys, you have to think about sometimes, why is that? Maybe they're seeing you post all these things and they're looking at you a certain way. And I had to always say to myself, I mean, I never really posted photos like that anyway, but to not do that because I felt so it was attracting bad attention. The other thing is you have to think about what you really want long term. So for me, it was like I wanted a husband. I wanted someone that was a Christian guy. I wanted someone that wanted family. And I had to think about, like, do I really, like, what is really going to get me there? Is it going to be me posting nonstop about all this career success and all these things that, like, again, we're not going to probably attract the guy that I want? And let me just say this, like, I think that you know this, Matt. I know this. Like, Matt is like very encouraging me with my career. He's very encouraging me. But like I told him at the end of the day, like, for me, what I wanted, I was like, if I had to drop my career, I would, because I've gone over this the phase of being a girl boss. Like, I'm tired. If I don't have to work ever again, I wouldn't. That's why this year I took the full year and do not work corporate. And hopefully I never have to go back into corporate unless I end up choosing that. But I think that a lot of career women, they are so gung-ho about boasting so much about their career, and you should be proud of your career, but you should also know that, again, if you want, specifically for people who want a masculine traditional male, if you're a Christian out there, you just have to know that unfortunately a lot of men are not looking for women to be a provider. That's not what it says in the Bible. They want a woman who has fertility a lot of the times, that can bear children, if that's something that, again, you want and your partner wants. They want someone who's going to be able to help them with their mission or their purpose. They're looking for someone, again, that's not dumb. That's not someone that's just that doesn't have anything to offer. But I would just say to be careful with that. And that's something that I also got from listening to a lot of male podcasts. And please do not listen to the male podcasts that I listen to nonstop. I got a lot of good tips, but I also got a lot of craziness too. I can tell you everything that I learned off this thing. But those are just some of the stuff that I feel as though would make your profile really appealing. I always say, if you're a girl on Instagram and you like to post all the time, that's fine, but at least have one baby photo of yourself. At least have one picture that you look nice, one picture that you're casual, and one picture that you're on some kind of purpose. Like, I don't care if it's your volunteering, giving back to the community. Most men like those things. And cooking, like if you like to cook, those things usually get guys' attention. I mean, you can confirm or deny it, but that's usually what I found works. I think also, wait, one last thing is with the dating profile thing. I think that's something that I really like about, again, Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn, even LinkedIn, honestly. Like, you see someone, just like a resume, like a dating app is one, like, it's just so little to get to know someone. A resume is just one page. All these social media sites, like, you are seeing someone over and over again, and you can really decide, do I want to reach out to that person or do I not, based on like continual posts. Uh, so yeah, I think the next thing that we want to say, said one thing, so if you want to repeat that, is what are some mistakes we see people make on social media? I know that you had mentioned about complaining. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, just men need to, especially, just talking to men here, like, you got to build, like, just, I kind of reiterate this before. It's like, okay, like, when you're posting, make sure, like, again, it is something of value, because I think, especially for like from a like woman's perspective, when a woman is seeing like a man building something, especially if it aligns with their values, they naturally just want to be a part of it, right? I think when you followed me back in 2022, obviously up until now, like you were bought in because I was building something. I was obviously went by Maddox Fitness at the time. Just trying to just help as many people lose weight, build muscle all the time. But uh, obviously, with the help of you transitioning into the John 5 move, because you said that you see me as more than a fitness trainer, but something greater. And that really, really stuck by me. And so, but the only reason that, that kind of led to my purpose, right? Like of just, building the John 5 movement, was that I was building something, right? Like it wasn't perfect, right? By any means, that there was no finished product, but at least like I was attempting to really build something. And so, as I said before, like, social media is one of the most powerful tools, in the entire ecosystem that you can take advantage of. And if you take advantage of it, like especially with the new iterations, obviously Twitter turned into X, and obviously Instagram and Threads, and LinkedIn, like having a personal something like a personal just brand of sorts can really just set you out, set you like so far ahead of the rest of the pack. I believe, in the next, 10, 5, 10, 15 years, right? Like traditional resumes, if like of you handing, your traditional resume to somebody, I think somebody's going, like, if somebody has the exact same credentials but has a social media like branding, they're gonna obviously side with the person that has a personal brand, especially if it aligns, with their values and their mission. And so just putting yourself up in the best position to success. You just have to learn to build something, and by doing that, you'll learn so many different skills along the way. Like for example, like me speaking here, right, the power of public speaking. That is something 5 years ago I would have laughed at you if you said to me that I was going to participate in some sort of a live audience, right? The editing videos, right? Being able to create something from scratch and post it online, getting in that editing process. I know, Al, you don't like editing videos, but I absolutely love it. I can't wait to get better. I feel like I'm an infant, not even learning to walk yet, but I can't wait until I get to that into that mode. But just being able to, I think social media just allows you to allows you to acquire skills that you wouldn't normally get. The ability to negotiate, the ability to sell, right? Like the ability to sell somebody your services. There's a lot of things that you can acquire, skill wise, just by building on social media. So for all the guys out there, stop posting your, I'm at a party at like 2 a.m. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Like, put something of value out, and then you'll reap the benefits in the future.
Awesome. I think that that's great advice for men to build something. I'd say for women, of course, if you build something, that's great. I think also for people in specifically the more than an admin community, I think being an assistant is one of the best jobs to be an amazing partner and wife. I think all of us know this, but I think some of us are really bad at actually sharing that. And I think that a lot of your posts on LinkedIn or posts in general about you even assisting is something that could be very attractive to men, because I think that a lot of men are looking for, in a way, like their assistant. And I'm not saying that you have to be your husband's assistant or anything to be their mother. I think it's not like that. But I do think that there are some skills that just make us very good for being wives, because we plan events a lot of times for a living. We are helping with scheduling. So if we have kids, like, how are we going to schedule, whether it's doctor's appointments or making sure everyone is taken care of, like, a lot of skills that we have in the work world can really be translated into the home. And I think that that's something that a lot of assistants don't realize. And if obviously you have something of your own, I think that for women, it's not so much about building and posting every little thing that you do. I think it's just about being someone that showcasing how you're serving your clients. I think that's could be something, and even just service in general. Like if you do any volunteer or charity work, again, you don't have to be boasting about it, but just showcasing what causes you're really passionate about, because I think that's something else that can really tie people together is what volunteer projects or what causes do you want your family, potential family, to be behind. I think people are looking for people that, again, have these similarities in values and things that they're interested in. The other thing that I'll just say from mistakes that I see people make, I already kind of mentioned this, but I'm going to kind of say it again, is I think a lot of women post for themselves or post for their girlfriends when they're saying the same exact thing that they want to find a guy, or they like want a guy to see them online. And I just say, be very careful with what you post in terms of your body, and know that if certain people look at you, they're going to view you a certain way. And I just think that men will judge you a certain way if they think that you're a party girl, or if they think that you're always going to be half naked and just a thing. Or again, you could be with a guy who loves that. I think that that's fine. If you want to present yourself a certain way, just know that the guy that is going to come into your life is going to be a certain one based on that. Mm-hmm. I think that the other mistake is that, again, we forget about how if you're trying to attract a certain client or a certain partner, again, you really have to think about what they would want and what they would want to see. And that's not, let me just say this also, I should have said this in the beginning. It's not about manipulating people. It's not like I was hiding anything from Matt when he looked at my Twitter profile. And I think it's just about being very proactive and really showcasing certain sides that you want your potential partner to see. To be honest, again, I still post about certain weaknesses. I'm still very open. It wasn't like I was trying to project this perfect image. Yeah. I just didn't want to project something that was, again, this like negative oversharing type of person. I was always going through something in that life. I think that you can really exude certain things that, again, would just get someone to like be like, oh, who's this person? I'm just be interesting. A lot of times I say to people, be an interesting person, do interesting things. Sure. People will be interested in you. The other thing I want to say that we didn't go over is, so once we were messaging a little bit, I found out that Matt was in Pennsylvania. I was going to be in New Jersey for the holidays because I go usually every year. And then he invited me to coffee. We met at a Starbucks in downtown Philly, my least favorite city in the world. The irony in that is just so funny. We spoke for 3 hours at Starbucks, and we literally were told to leave. My sister, I don't know if you're still in here, she was like, where the heck are you? You're supposed to be at my house. And I literally messaged her something very short and told her I was going to be on my way soon, basically. But it's just funny how, again, things work out. And then we spoke 3 hours, another 3 hours. Oh yeah, you remember, I know, Katie, you do. And then the next week we spoke for another 3 hours, and then we were together a week later. So yeah. I think that we have a lot of, what I think is cool about our story is we have a lot of different dates to celebrate. It's like around August 22, then November 18th, then December 30th, then January 15th. So it's kind of exciting about that. All right, lastly, because we are way over time, but let's read. I wanted to end by reading a First Corinthians verse, because actually this is my favorite book in the Bible, for those who don't know. It's beyond my favorite verse. I know that a lot of times, which I'm going to read my favorite verse, is just very popular. But it's like well beyond that. Actually, something that people might not know is we have a more than an admin Bible verse that is going to kind of be the new overarching verse that is really defines what more than an admin is going to be. And it's actually in First Corinthians, which I didn't plan. It just happened to be that I found this verse that I really loved. So do you want to very quickly set the context for what First Corinthians is?
Okay. So pretty much, so it's set in Corinth. If you think, Rome at the time, that Rome is comparison to like New York City, Corinth is compared to like Los Angeles, very vibrant city. But there's a lot of problems in the church. First and foremost, there was, unity problems. I believe that people were kind of, picking and choosing sides. Two, a lot of temptation. Since Corinth is a vibrant city, there's also still a lot of temptations within the church, since the church was super small. And number three, just kind of moral obligations, right? So people weren't really even though there's a church, but it was, disunified, and people were doing things out of duty rather than of love. So, as you read 1 Corinthians 13, Paul kind of addresses this in the Corinth, population. So if you want to read it.
Cool. So, reading what many people know, 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8. I forgot to bring I have my physical Bible in Vegas, but I'm not going to go and get it. So I'm going to read from my computer screen, which says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. And the reason why I also wanted to read this specific verse is, if you don't know, many people try to read it anyway. So I will show. I have 2 Bible verses, which are actually, these are my favorite tattoos that I have. And it says, love is patient, love never fails. And when I got them at 2 different times in my life, I felt as though that it was this Bible verse in general has always been, again, my favorite, but I felt as though those 2 lines for me, I have always stuck out about patience. And then how I took love never fails for me is, when you love someone, you're not failing in that. And obviously you can say like love, real love never fails in general, but I felt as though that a lot of people think about, if they love someone and it doesn't work out, that it's, a bad thing. But I always wanted that reminder. So I love that Bible verse. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just think it's cool, to that Paul really addressed, the motives behind it. It's like, if you don't have love in the actions that you're doing, it means absolutely nothing, right? And so I think it really just goes back to the heart, which Jesus really talks about, obviously, all throughout the Gospels, and being able to exude that love through action, but also the motives behind that action is also pure. Really just kind of makes it all the difference, because the temptation is that you're doing it for love. You're doing it out of because you want to get something back. How many times have you seen people, it's like, oh, he didn't do this, he didn't do this, I did so much for this, I did so much for that. Like, it's like, with love and, serving others, you're not expecting anything back, right? It's just kind of like you're doing it out of the love and generosity of your heart. So really just, going into that heart issue and really addressing that, I think it makes all the more difference. That's why I love this verse. I had to recite it, when I was a kid, because I used to go to a Christian elementary school. That's one of the first whole chapter that I had to recite, because it means the whole, it means a lot. That's the whole foundation of the Bible is love. Right. So to do that perfectly, I think it can obviously, translate into a marriage sense, but also just into a, friendship sense too. Like how do you love, your brothers and sisters? How do you love your disciples? Right. And so, yeah. So.
It's so funny because that was going to be what I added. Now you're really reading my mind. Because I was going to say that why I like this verse is so many people see it as like true love and romantic love, but I see it really as just like loving people in general. And I think we don't speak about that enough, especially as Christians, about just how to love people around you, especially in today's world. It's like how to just be a good, loving person to friends, family, romantic partner, but just like people at the grocery store, people at work. The other thing that I want to end with is saying is that even though we were talking about finding love on social media, I think that's something that, again, we didn't really, you talked about a little bit. I didn't talk, well, I guess people kind of mentioned it, is that we were both single for a while before we actually got together. And I think that being so intentional about your singleness is really important. And I think that both of us can say that we had said to God, like, if you do not want us to be with anyone, like, we are okay with being single. And I really meant that. I was going to be on search for my husband, but I was going to be content in singleness too. And I think that for me, I felt like you came into my life at a time where I had spent so much time with God, just being so content with my singleness and making sure that I, really was listening to worship music, was praying, was, even though I didn't read the Bible every single day, I was still listening to sermons. And I think that a lot of times people complain that they're single and pray to God about getting into a relationship or getting married, when the reality is that you should be really just soaking in the word. You should just be asking God for that connection with him. And I think that that's something that people really forget. And I think that that's something, even in our relationship, like, I don't think that either of us have ever put any, I mean, I hope that you'd say, I don't pressure you to get married. I definitely don't feel as though you pressure me of like, we're getting married by this time. I think that there's a lot of peace in our relationship because we have such a connection that's not just because we like each other, but we also have brought God into our relationship so much in every single aspect of it, and being very intentional with that. Just intentionality, again, as a whole. It's being intentional on social media. It's being intentional when you first meet someone, being very intentional when you start dating. I think that that's something that also a lot of people have to think about, that I should have mentioned before, is just being really intentional with everything that you do in your life. Stop letting life happen to you and really think about how you drive your decisions and drive your life forward. The other thing that I want to say is 2019's church, Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell did an amazing sermon. And I think it was literally called, like, I'm forgetting the title. It's called, I think it was called like Singleness, Marriage, Divorce, or something like that. And it was really good. Did you end up watching it?
No, I actually saw it on my, it actually popped off on my YouTube, so I saved it
Oh yeah,
to watch later.
it's definitely very good. If you want a very passionate speaker to really speak to your soul and convict you in ways that you didn't need to know, or you didn't know that you need to be convicted, listen to that. I also I'm dropping my podcast tomorrow about my recap from EA Ignite, because I was in Miami last time that we did this. So be on tune for that on the More Than Nothing YouTube channel. Anything else that you want to plug?
So I am 3 subscribers away from 280. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also have a newsletter coming out, on Wednesday, which I think will be very impactful. So you can also
Excited
plug
to read
that. Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah. So those two.
anything else we want to add that we forgot? I'm trying to think.
I'm trying to think too, but I think we covered pretty much everything.
I think
Yeah.
we did. I'm trying to see if
It's
any
good.
notes.
You gotta do like a part. You gotta do like a part two in the future or
I know.
something.
I know.
Like recap.
I know. Or like one official year
Like
together. Uh,
yeah.
yeah. But I think that that's it on my end. I hope everyone has a blessed rest of your week. I'm figuring out what I want to do in Vegas now. I'm gonna go to the slot machines and waste the money, probably, or hopefully win. I always let myself do like $20. That's usually what I like to do. And I'm usually a winner in the airports. So that's something I like to do, is when I leave Vegas, to play one slot. And usually I win $5 and get myself a coffee. So I'll see it.
Awesome. I don't know how you do it. I don't like to lose money. So
Yes,
yeah.
it's way less risky with his money than we always say. He is the saver and the crazy faith. I'm on the crazy faith financial plan, and he is not. And that's what makes us such good partners, because we balance each other out. And
I'd say more investor. I take calculated risk with my investments, but yes,
yes, again, you're the responsible one, and I'm not. Even though I should say that I am somewhat responsible, but
for sure.
I'm definitely responsible.
Give yourself credit. No, give yourself credit. You're better than most people.
Yes,
So
definitely,
yeah.
definitely. But I'm good at building money, and I'm also good at spending it. So, life is short. You can't bring any money into heaven with us, so you might as well spend it. Anyway, love you. I will talk to you after, and hope everyone has, again, a blessed rest of your week. So, peace out. See ya.